Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. It has been a long time since we've had a new video, and I apologize for that, but it's 4:20 right now, and as you can see, it's already getting pretty dark outside, so that's been really my biggest dilemma as far as getting videos out to you guys, is just the real early sunsets, and also been pretty busy with some personal and work related stuff. So with that said and out of the way, I'm gonna get right into this video, and we're gonna do videos today, you know, the basic car guy video, the 5 things that I hate about my new truck. And actually, I want to say I have like 7 things. I've kind of had a list of things I've been adding to over the last couple months of ownership that I wanted to actually document for you guys and have a real list of things that I don't like so far. And again, this is always such a weird thing to say, that you hate things about your new vehicle, and everybody always says, oh, I don't actually hate them, and I would have to agree with that. I don't hate all these things, like, to the point where I want to sell this truck. They're just things that I really don't understand why some of them are like that, or you'll see as I get through them. None of them are bad enough to sell the vehicle, but I have found a few things that I really actually do not like, and one we're about to get demonstrated right now, and that is this Bpillar right here behind me. It is huge, and it has the handle for the back passengers to grab onto attached to it, due to the fact that this has the full length sunroof. So this Bpillar is massive. Now we're getting on the interstate right now, and I kind of have a old school habit of looking over my left shoulder when I'm getting on the interstate or something like that. And this truck's Bpillar, like, when I look at it, I see about this much in my back window, and it is just something that's really different compared to my last truck and some other vehicles I've driven. I think because this cab is so big, that Bpillar is very large, and like I said, it does have the handle on the back side of it as well, which just adds an extra little bit of you know, material that you really can't see around. So not too big of a deal, but it's definitely something that I have had to get used to, and I notice it a lot because, like I said, I have kind of an old school driving habit of looking over my shoulder when I'm getting on ramp, and you know, it's just it's a habit for me, and it's something I don't want. It's a habit I don't want to get rid of because I think it's a good thing to do, but it is a bit of an inconvenience sometimes. Now, some of you may say, well, you're driving a limited F-150, shouldn't it have like all the blind spot monitoring? And it does, but getting on the on-ramp, it doesn't quite capture those types of vehicles that far away from you. And so it's just one of those things where even the technology that this vehicle has, it doesn't quite overcome that issue of being that Bpillar is so massive. So not a huge deal, but it is like the very first thing I noticed when I bought this truck, that I have like no visibility over my left shoulder versus my last truck, and that's just something I have to get used to. There still is some visibility, it's not that bad. Some of it probably is my seating position. I'm pretty short, so I sit fairly close, and so that creates even a bigger you know, space for me to kind of look around. So we're really not that big of a deal, but again, if you're not used to that, you'll probably notice it right away if you buy one of these trucks. Moving along to the second thing, and we just talked about technology, so it's a perfect thing to go into, is the sensors on this truck. This truck does have sensors on it. However, it has no front sensors, which is just very, very weird to me. It has sensors in the back. It has sensors on the side for the parallel parking, auto parallel parking, which I've not tried. It has the blind spot monitoring sensors, but it has no front parking sensors, which is just, it makes no sense to me because it's the most loaded out truck you can get from Ford, yet it's missing those sensors, or they didn't put them in there. And it does have the front cameras, but the back has a camera as well, and it still has back sensors. So why they wouldn't just add the sensors, I have no idea. Referring back to my old truck again, my old truck had front parking sensors, and that's something I really liked. It was just like an extra comfort thing for me. I just had that little extra bit of information when I was pulling into a parking spot. These are pretty big trucks, and if you're not quite used to the front end, this front end is significantly different than my Chevy was. Just the way you kind of look over the hood, and the whole truck is just different. So it takes a little bit of time getting used to parking, and it doesn't quite give you that sense of comfort when you're pulling in front of somebody, even though it does have the cameras. We'll get into that in a little bit, but it just, those sensors are missing, and I think it's a really dumb thing. They can't be that expensive. You can paint match them to make them look really nice, and there should be no issues, but this does not have them. So that is a big pet peeve of mine. I really enjoyed that feature of my last truck, and I really wish this one had it as well. And this one is kind of almost dumb to put in here, but I noticed it right away, is the license plate lights. So the lights on the license plate, which everybody has on this truck, are just standard, like, normal colored halogen bulbs. And I know you're saying that's what's the complaint. Every other light on this truck is a bright LED. The front lights have really, really awesome daytime running lights. The rear, the tail lights have awesome LED running lights, and the lights themselves are really bright. Inside has LEDs. Everything does. The third brake light has LEDs, really bright. Inside the box, really bright LEDs. There's even a light above the camera, next to the camera, that lights up the whole back side of the ground when you're working. Like, if you're trying to hook something up to your hitch, you can light up the whole area. However, the only lights on the truck that aren't are the LED, or the lights that do your license plate. And I think it just looks kind of weird when, you know, a truck or a car guy, you notice that stuff, and I noticed it right away. So not a big deal. You can replace the lights with LEDs. I just haven't done it yet, but it is something that is like a weird quirk that I just don't quite understand why it's like that. All right, so trying to move through this quickly, sorry, before we run out of daylight. The next thing I have on my list is the cameras. Now, the cameras are very nice in this truck. I have the full 360-degree camera view, and cameras up front, side, rear, and there's different modes that those cameras will go into, which I really like, and I'll put that in a video eventually of all the different views you can have for the cameras. But something that I don't love about it is that when you put it in reverse, and I'll show this on screen here, it defaults to a split screen view. And the split screen view is the full 360-degree view overhead of the truck, and then the other side of it is your backup camera. This truck does not have a massive screen like the new Rams do, so when it splits the screen, the camera views are actually quite small, and not a huge fan of that. The 360-degree view camera is nice, however, I don't use that as much. I live in a place where there's not a ton of tight parking, you know, not a lot of areas where I really need that. Now, not to say it's not useful, I've used it a lot lately, but I would prefer when I throw it in reverse to default to the full screen being a reverse camera. And I'll show that here, that you can actually, in fact, switch the camera to a full screen. You just have to hit the button. So not a huge deal, because you can switch it to the full screen view that I want. However, you have to hit the button every time that you want that view, and that to me is just it's kind of weird that there's no setting that I've been able to find. There may be a setting, let me know in the comments if there is, but it'd be nice if there was a way to just have it default to go to the view you want when you put it in reverse. Again, not a big deal, but it is something that kind of bugs me when I could use a bigger view of my backup camera right away. Moving along to something interior wise that is again, very first world problems, and I shouldn't even bring this up, but the heated steering wheel. The heated steering wheel in this truck does work well. It's not the function, how it functions, it's how you turn it on. So in this truck, and again, I'll show you here, you have to actually go into the screen infotainment system to turn on the heated steering wheel, versus where you can turn on the heated seats and the cooled seats with just a quick touch of a button there. It's not a big deal, it's just an extra. You have to look at your screen, go through the settings, and click on the heated steering wheel. My last truck, it was right on the steering wheel, a quick button, and your thumb was right on it already, pretty much. So you just tap it and it would turn on really quick. You know, you don't have to take your eyes off the road, nothing like that. So again, kind of stupid, because it's got a heated steering wheel, and I shouldn't complain about having a heated steering wheel, but it's just a weird thing that they put the buttons for the heated seats and cooled seats as an actual button, but there's no button for the heated steering wheel. The other thing that is kind of weird about that is you can control your heated steering wheel from the screen, but you cannot turn your heated seats or cooled seats on from the screen. So I say that's weird is because, like in the Rams, for instance, some of them have the buttons for all the options: heated, cooled seats, heated steering wheel, and then you can actually see all those options in the screen as well. I don't know why you would only put just the heated steering wheel versus put all of them in the screen as well. So just a little weird quirk that I've found. So I got two more things for you. One of them is very, again, it's kind of a quirk, and it's an interesting thing. This truck has a ton of ambient lighting, cup holders, the door pockets, the front dash has a bunch of ambient lighting in it, which is nice. However, in 2018, I apologize, what year truck this is, you cannot change the ambient color at all. It just is the default. And in previous models, from my understanding, you could go into the infotainment, you could change the color to whatever you wanted. It had a whole ton of options for colors, but for some reason in 18 they took away that option, and you're stuck with just the default color. Not really a big deal, but I think ambient lighting is a really cool thing, and I was actually looking forward to having the option to switch some of the colors around myself. And of course, the year a truck that I purchased, that option has gone away. Last but certainly not least, because this is something I really actually don't like, and I think this is a common thing that a lot of people don't like. We'll see if I can get it to do it right here. You come to a hard stop and the truck shuts off. And I get that it's a feature that helps save fuel, but for me it is kind of an inconvenience, and I'll tell you here in a second. But as you can see, I'll lift off the brake and you hear the truck start up, and now we can get going again. So why I have a problem with this is not because of the functionality, but I think it's a great idea if it actually saves me fuel. But as I kind of stated before, I live in a smaller town where I don't have a lot of traffic. My stoplights are pretty quick. I'm not sitting in line for tons and tons of time. And it always seems to me that I end up coming to a stop, and I sit there at a stoplight for a little bit of time, and I'll sit there and sit there and sit there, and the truck will be running just as normal, and then 4 or 5 seconds before the light turns green, my truck will shut off. And it's kind of, you know, you kind of figure out how to drive with it. If you are kind of light on the brakes coming to a stop, and you're sitting at a stoplight and you're real light on your brake pedal, it won't shut off. It's when you come to a stop and you're firm on the pedal that it'll shut off. But it just seems to me it always happens. I turn or I get to a stoplight and I sit there forever, and then or not forever, but a little bit of time, and then my truck will shut off, and then the light turns green. And I just feel like it's kind of hard on the vehicle. I don't like it. It's kind of one of those things. I get it, but I'm not a huge fan. Now, why I don't truly hate this is because, again, I do see the purpose of it, but the real nice thing is I can hit a button and I can turn off that feature. The only thing is it defaults back to being on as soon as you turn your truck off and get back into it. So you can hit the button, turn it off, and you're fine. It won't do it anymore, and it's not too big of a deal. So I apologize. I kind of had to fly through this list because we're running out of daylight so quickly. But that is the probably 7 or 8 things that I do not like about this truck as far as owning it over the last couple months. Those are really all I could come up with. Nothing that is horrendous, but definitely some stuff that's a pet peeve or weird quirks that I'm not sure that why they're a feature. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe to the channel. I know there's been a little less content than I would like, but it's just been difficult with the time and work and some personal stuff going on. But I greatly appreciate you guys watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. We'll catch you on the next one. Take it easy.